this skull is used as a paraphernalia for paktol. That's another form of sorcery. So in this case, they said that paktol is really a very dangerous thing to do, and eventually the victim really will die due to paktol. We are here to explain about culture. We are here to teach visitors and people in the community about Filipino culture in general. Dig deeper into the roots of the Filipino culture.
Hi Paradise Buddies! For this episode, we are in Dumaguete City. And any visit here is not complete without dropping by Silliman University. And right now, I'm in the Anthropology Museum. Hi ma'am.
Welcome to the Anthropology Museum. So basically, we are an anthropological museum. So we focus sa culture, Filipino culture specifically.
Of course.
And we are showcasing here the collections that we have collected over the years since 1960s until 1990s. This area here, this is our oldest collection in the museum. These are the earthenwares coming from Bacong, which is actually the next municipality after Dumaguete, there in the south. So this is around mga 2,000 years old, mga items. And this is actually a secondary burial site. So when we say secondary burial, our ancestors before, they bury their dead. And after a couple of years, usually they will exhume the bones, gather the bones, and then perhaps clean it and put it inside a massive jar. So these here are what we call a secondary burial jars. This is where they put the bones of our ancestors, and these jars are again buried under the ground together with other items such as these, or these items here that we call as grave goods or pabaon sa patay.
Oh, okay. Why in that type of way na ipaburial ang mga people before?
Perhaps that's how they take care of their dead loved ones, perhaps.
Okay.
Here, these are items that were found in Sultan Kudarat. Same with Bacong, these are also secondary burial jars and burial urns.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, again, as mentioned, the bones are put inside. And then, the difference is that these urns and jars were put inside caves instead of buried under the ground. So the caves or rock shelters will turn into some sort of a communal cemetery, perhaps you can call that. This one is a boat coffin.
No?
It's a boat, but it's also a coffin. And when you think it's a boat coffin, is it put in a body of water? No, it's not.
Okay.
So it's just a symbolism. Again, we are an archipelago. Perhaps our ancestors perhaps believed that the soul of the dead will have to travel from this life to the next via a boat. So this coffin is actually put inside a cave usually.
So
It's in a cave, but this one here again is a boat coffin. All of these items are grave goods or mga pabaon sa patay. These were actually excavated all over Negros Oriental, including part of Escalante, which is occidental part na siya.
why do you have to put like certain things
Again,
like that?
Again, the belief about the next life. How do you prepare yourself to the next life? So again, the belief that I guess people will have to
Offerings.
travel. Even up to today, we are still offering something to our dead relatives, especially during November 1 and 2 when we go to the cemetery. We bring with us their favorite food. In some cases, when we bury our dead loved ones, we even put something inside the coffin. So it's something that we have actually learned perhaps from our ancestors before. As you can see, it's almost ceramics.
Yes.
Mostly ceramics. Now, this is the indication of our contact with our Asian, with other Asian countries. Somehow shows our contact and interaction with them. These are some of the items from the Tinggian, from Northern Luzon. So this again shows their way of life. So mostly the things that they use in everyday life, such as kitchenwares, mga musical instruments, various household items,
Oh my God.
things for agriculture, and then for fishing.
Wow.
We have also a babtok or tattoo needle.
Where was this originally, when it came here, where was this from?
Okay, so again, Northern Luzon, the Tinggian, Ilocos, somewhere in Ilocos region. These were collected, I think, back in the 60s. So they're not necessarily very, very old, but somehow still quite old. These were collected by the early anthropologists from this university. And here, these are from Palawan and Mindoro. If you see that lady, if you look at the lady holding the basket,
Ah, yes.
she's wearing this one. This is a skirt called lingeb.
It's a skirt?
Yeah, it's a skirt.
No.
It's not a rope, but it's a skirt. It's like a mini skirt. That's their mode of dress. It would take about 30 minutes though, or more or less 30 minutes to wrap it around her. I think I saw one picture from the Mangyan Heritage Center that they still using it. The Mangyan, they have their string instruments, and the unique thing about their string instruments that this string is made from human hair.
I knew it.
So that's why
knew
it
it.
looks
I was
like
going to
human.
ask.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if it's really human hair.
So their
because-
guitars, they sort of look like a violin, perhaps.
Yes.
It's made from human hair. These are modern potteries now. We just got this from one of the barangays here associated with pottery.
But these are the sort of ways they cook, how they cook.
Yes, so just your typical colon. And this one is for puto, steamer for puto.
Oh, that's...
The puto nga katong rice. And then, of course, the batidor for chocolate. Batidor.
Ah!
But that is made from clay. And then a few fish traps here as well. Now, when it comes to the most, let's just say, interesting na mga items from the museum here that people are really very interested, you might think nga, bakong dito. But actually, people are really interested with this spread here.
I think I sort of know.
You might have an understanding what
Yes.
these things are for.
A little bit.
This is for ethnomedicine.
Yeah.
So this is the medicine that the people use, the folk. So these are bits and pieces of a lot of different siguro na mga species of trees and plants. Bark, leaves, cuttings sa mga branches. They use this for medicinal purposes. These are all from Siquijor, by the way.
Oh, for all? Okay.
From Siquijor?
From Siquijor.
So there are interesting things here that people might think nga, is that for medicinal use? Maybe, perhaps.
Or is it for
For-
something like that? Because of course.
There are two things. One is for medicinal purposes. The second one is the opposite. So you can think of what that opposite is. Lana, when you think about lana, it's an all-purpose medicine for various things such as small cuts, insect bites, stomach ache, or anything. But this can also be used for sa mga Bisaya. Sometimes some people will bring with them a small bottle of lana. And if the cap of the lana will loosen or if it will boil inside without any heat or pressure, that means that there are some creatures around that are not good.
Whoa. Wow.
This one here, there are interesting things here. Of course, that is a stingray.
Ah, this one?
Ikagpagi. To drive away malevolent creatures of the night. So you use that as a whip.
Oh, a whip?
Whip.
Oh my God.
For example, aswang, pwede sad, or unsa man niya mga
And
abat.
this certain
Okay.
skull.
Now, this skull is used as a paraphernalia for paktol. That's another form of sorcery. So, in this case, they said that paktol is really a very dangerous thing to do. And eventually, the victim really will die due to paktol because it has something to do with your head. So, they will do something, some sort of orasyon,
Yes.
ritual, that would lead to some sort of a severe
Oh no.
headache. That's why it's called paktol, because they will tap the skull and the victim will also feel that.
It's different sa voodoo doll.
Lahi ni siya ang voodoo
Lahi
doll.
sa na.
So this one here, somehow a person can still recover, perhaps, with this one. But also the same principle with the skull. There is that principle where they say nga, like produces like. This is the likeness of the victim. Whatever you do to the likeness also happens to the victim. Also, anything that you have or you own will always have a connection to you. So a piece of hair, a piece of nail clipping, or a cloth that you have worn before, use that together with the doll. Whatever the person who will do something bad to you, will eventually, it will be connected to you.
Where was this originally from?
Sikihor.
And when did this come here?
1970s, this was collected. The story says there it was collected from someone by the police, and the police gave that to the university, I guess, or someone who's from the university. So that's authentic.
Okay.
But in terms of whether it's real or not, it's up to you if you believe in that, in those things.
If it's real or not, it's still scary and still really fascinating to understand and learn about this. And I saw something else na more lahi
Lahi ra jud.
lahi ra sa kay more more on gugma man sad na oy. Ay na lang.
Lumay, yeah, ang lumay, oftentimes we think of it as a love potion.
Yes.
But for some people, they use that for business. Business purposes. If you have a business, you want to attract customers, di ba?
Ay, okay. So there are other ways in using that type of love
Yeah.
potion.
It's not only just to attract someone who doesn't like
Because
you.
usually when you say love potion, that's
Yeah.
really what you think, the first thing that comes up in your head. I never thought it would actually implement for jobs and for businesses.
Pwede na siya. So if you're looking for a job, if you want to get that job, you can use lumay. But I don't know what's the return whenever you do something that is not really
Good and
partly you are going against the free will of a person, Manggod. So
that's
maybe
very
perhaps
true.
there's a return.
That's what my mom says as well.
Oh.
Moving on.
Moving on, we're now sa Mindanao. So Mindanao area, very colorful, especially the indigenous peoples that we're showcasing some of the items. That one that you're interested with is for mama, nganga, or tilad. You're not familiar with those things.
I'm not. I'm sorry.
But you have seen videos or pictures of old people where they're chewing something and then it will turn their gums or teeth reddish
Yes,
brown.
I have seen that.
That's mama, nganga, or tilad. And these are the containers for the ingredients for mama. So from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, and other indigenous peoples from Southeast Asia, they are usually chewing betel nut.
Why? What's the reason why they chew it?
Usually, it's a combination of ingredients. The apog is lime. And then you combine that with tobacco, which is
Yes.
also addictive.
Yes, very.
So it's a little bit addictive to them.
So it's sort of like a drug per se.
Yes, in a sense.
I thought there was like a certain reason why they.
The general or mostly the popular idea, they said that it will strengthen your teeth. But I'm not really quite sure of that because that is apple, which is lime. So acid is not really good for the teeth as well. But that's what they said. So for me, I think it's more on the addictive part. And also, it can ease hunger pangs. Di ka magutom. Moving on here. In Mindanao, again, because there are a lot of indigenous peoples as well that mostly are Muslim. So we have the kulintang and its ensemble, the important musical instrument for a lot of festivities for our fellow Muslim brothers and sisters. So you have the kulintang. It's accompanied by different instruments like the bakan, a drum, and then a xylophone made from kawayan. And then also, of course, the agong, also there, agongs, or the gong.
And what are these costumes or?
This is part of their dress. So for example, this is the malong. Whenever you think about Mindanao, you think about malong.
Yes.
So these are some examples of plaid malong. Muslim wedding curtains. This is part of the collection of Sultan Omar Kiram. This is actually the royal family tree line of Sultan Omar Kiram. They're from Lanao, this side of the family. And then this side here is actually the, if you are familiar with the Sultanate of Sabah and Sulu.
Not so
much.
Sorry.
They're quite famous. Of course, when you think about Sabah, that's not part of the Philippines anymore.
Yes.
But as a sultanate, they belong to just one. This is the family of the Sultanate of Sabah and Sulu. This is him.
Okay, so there's actually a picture.
There's quite an interesting thing about the story of Sultan Omar Kiram. You might be asking why we have his items here. He was our tactical officer during World War II, prior to World War II, of course. So he trained our ROTC cadet. And he had some lectures here as well on ceramics before the war. So that's his connection with us. This is the ceremonial sword. They said that this was used to be sa entrance sa balay nila.
So what do they use it for? Only for
display.
For display.
For display.
For display. I thought they would really use this.
It's way too heavy.
And what's this?
This is a lantaka, but it's not used for war or as a weapon. But then again, the cannons from Mindanao usually are quite small. It's called lantaka, cannon. And here it is, a much more bigger version of the mamaan tilad. This one here is much more bigger because he's a sultan. It's much more grander. So some sort of a status symbol as well. These are your typical swords from Mindanao. When you think about the Muslim warriors, you always think about mga kris. These are the kris swords. So this one here can be used, perhaps can be used in a war. These are also swords, but this is more like Japanese inspired.
Yes, more.
Yeah, Japanese inspired na siya. It's not really very usual nga sword that you can find here in the Philippines or even in Mindanao. These are brass buttons.
It was very, very educational to be here and for you to explain all these artifacts here. And I've learned so much. Thank you so much for your time. It was such a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you also for coming and for visiting us here.
That was one heck of a tour around in this museum. And being a first-timer, the load is so much on my head. I've learned so much. I have listened and understood more about Visayas, Luzon, and Mindanao. Grabe, it's so I just have no words to explain what I'm trying to bring out to you guys. Mona mga kabadis, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our videos if you don't want to miss any of our episodes here in Paradise, Philippines. Watch out for more adventures with me, Kiara Leon Wellington, here in Paradise, Philippines.